Right, we're here. So I came here 4 years ago, as you said, and after I came back from those talks, actually, I was really inspired. And I think I went on, and my husband's here with my 2 kids, and I went on and on about it for weeks, about how fantastic it was. And the thing that I came away with that I noticed from the stories of how inspiring they were exactly what Gavin talked about, were people's paths. And I think I kind of took the whole load of talks that I'd seen and thought, what was the common thread that these talks had? And it was that everyone had taken these mad paths to get to where they wanted to go. And then it made me think, well, maybe it's very, very few, the people who know exactly, like, okay, you're great at snooker or you're great at tennis, that's what I'm going to do. But most of us, I think, have this kind of meandering path to get to where we want to go to. And you just got to allow yourself to do that, I think, to go on the wrong paths, because they're just as interesting. And then when you asked me to come and do the teen do, the one thing that I thought about when I was at do was, why didn't I have something to see like this when I was a teenager, or even a bit older? I would have just loved to have seen. I didn't know you could do jobs like those. These people seem to have made their own jobs, from a knife maker to opening up an orphanage in Nepal, and I just thought I would really, really have loved to have heard those kind of job opportunities, that these people making their own jobs. I never heard that kind of stuff from where I was from. And so today, I think what I just want to talk about, because we've got 20 minutes, I'm going to stick to 20 minutes, is I'm going to show a little bit of work. So I've been working for 25 years. I can't show you all of it. I'm going to show my later projects. And I'm going to tell you 4 things that I think keep me going and keep me very excited about what I do. And I want to share those with you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. This picture looks so ancient because, this is before Facebook, and I think we had 1 camera. And I've got about 30 pictures of my whole childhood. And I was one of 6 kids, 5 girls and a boy, and that's me with the ball. And I just want to talk about where you come from is quite important. I was, we didn't have very much. This is the 70s. There's not much. Britain was crap in the 70s. We didn't have very much. It was like there's power cuts and crap food. And I was in Scotland, so it was even worse. And coming from a big family, your mother's got to share that love 6 times, doesn't she? So you're kind of fighting for your little bit. And you kind of try and define yourself. You try and find something you're good at. And I was good at 2 things. I was good at running, and I was good at drawing. And I really worked at those because that's how I got my love, in a way. And I had a very happy childhood, despite not having very much. But there's another thing that growing up in your environment affects you, is that you're labelled quite early on, especially, probably not just in a big family, but everyone gets a label. And those labels, you kind of take them through your life with you. And sometimes they're very positive, like, okay, I'm the artist, I'm going to do art, or, I was also labelled lazy in my family. I was the lazy one. And I still have a problem with that even now, and I have to try and work through it, that I feel like I'm lazy sometimes. And that's purely to do with that label as a kid. So you've got to take some of your positive labels, but you've got to also not worry about the negative ones, because your family are always going to see you as that person, that little girl, and that little lazy sneaky, they used to call me, but good at art. So I'm still working against those labels even now. Now, talking about job opportunities, when I left school, or I was about to leave school, we used to see the careers officer. And she was particularly, I think, the vision was not many people went to art school. And I was good at art, I was good at English, but I didn't really know whether I should go to art school or not. And she said, oh, you're good at art, you should do cake decoration. That was her idea of what my job should be. And I was like, I'm really sure I don't want to do cake decoration. So luckily I didn't end up doing cake decoration. And I had a few people who said, do what you love, quite early on. I had very supportive parents who didn't really mind what I did, which was also really nice. It's like, well, do what you like. And I had other people saying, well, if you go to art school, you'll never get a job. And it's a very risky thing to do if you go to art school. So I was a bit worried, because I was thinking, you don't really know what you want. I didn't know what I wanted even at 18, far less, 15. And I think it's quite hard to imagine that most 18-year-olds do know what you want to do. Your experience of life is very, very limited at that point. And you're meant to make these quite big decisions quite early on. And that's what I was saying about this path. Maybe it doesn't matter. Just make a decision and go on that path. And if you don't enjoy it, just change it. But luckily, the path I went on, I did enjoy. But the arts is a massive industry in the UK. This is annually it makes 84 billion a year, and yet it's one of the most underrated subjects taught in school, and it's taught at a very young age, and it's really encouraged. And then as soon as you get to that point where you have to do your exams and you have to choose serious subjects, art is chucked right to the bottom. And yet we have got an amazingly creative country here that produces some of the best stuff in the world, and yet we still don't encourage it at grassroots level. And I think it's a real shame, and I don't know how people have been talking about changing it for years, but it's still recently just got worse, where they've kind of, not encouraging enough. So if you enjoy the arts, just remember it's a massive industry out there. I mean, I'm an illustrator, that's what I do. I make, supposedly eliminate text, but there's a million different kinds of illustrators, and we all do different things, and very few of us cross over. So even within that tiny little narrow field of the arts that I work in, it's so vast and it's so varied. Now, it's very hard for me to think back to being a teenager. It's such a long time ago. But I wasn't a very confident teenager. And I remember one teacher saying to me, why can't you be more like your sister? She's so full of life and happy and jolly, and you walk down the school corridors like you're trying to be eaten up by the corridor. And I thought, that's a really great thing for a teacher to say to you, to encourage you. But I was really shy and really unsure of myself, and it was through art that I was able to, in a way, feel more confident. And it was the one thing I had when everyone around me was I looked really young. I mean, I was the smallest girl in my class until I was 16, and I grew 4 inches in 2 years. So it was quite a big, I felt really small as well. And the art was the one thing I used to make drawings for people, and that was my way of kind of making friends and stuff. So it's been a good friend to me, art, and I love doing it. And this is where I work, and I work as soon as I left art school, I thought, I can't work on my own, it's too difficult and quite lonely. So a few of us formed a studio, and it was a recession in Britain at the time. No one had any money. We were all very, very poor. We didn't have any work for years, in fact. We just used to organise parties half the time. But that was actually a really important learning tool. So we spent all of our energy kind of making a network in a way without even realising it. So we organised these big parties. We did all the flyers for them. We'd all make little pictures. We'd send out promotion. And without realising it, we were kind of making this little network in London. And that network, when the economy started to improve, became people that we worked with. And so it really came through a party scene in a way. And you couldn't really have written that down in your textbook of how you get on in life, but that was the path I took. I work in an old shoe factory with 24 other people. We're all independent, architects, designers, illustrators, and it's been a great community. It's changing, people come and go. In fact, David used to be in the studio a long time ago for a short time, and it's a very creative environment. It's a place that's never felt like work. I never take my problems there. I go there, it's a place where I make things, and it's a place where I generally feel very happy. And at the end of the day, I make a living out of it as well, but this is something I call my play desk, which we're going to create later on in the workshop today. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it because I think it's quite important. And I spend half and half my time, half the time on screen, which I love as well, and half the time on this play desk. I've been working for a long time now, so 25 years making images, and it's taken me a long time to kind of do some projects that I felt have been for me. So I've been working recently in the last 5 years on children's books, children's activity books. And when I was at college, it was very uncool to do kids' books, and no one was pushing me in that direction. And so I never really felt like doing stuff for kids. And I was trying to do serious art in a way, something that looked much more hip. And I should have listened to myself a bit more, because I really love making characters and really love doing these books. And these books are in about 18 languages now, and I've done 4. I've got another 2 coming out soon. And they're really about playing and fun. And the play for me is a really, really important word because there's a musician called Brian Eno, who you may not know because you'll be too young, but he's a fantastic musician, and he said that children learn through playing. We all know that children learn through playing, but he said that the adults that keep playing, and they still do it, and they just call it art. And I think that's exactly what it is. We just, and those of us who really appreciate that, I feel so privileged to be doing this. This is a luxury, to be making art and making a living. And the thing about these books that I've started doing is that I've tried to, it's the first time I made projects that weren't selling anything, because ultimately when you do illustration, you might be selling a story in a magazine, or you might be selling a product indirectly because you're making it look better. But these books were not about selling a particular product. They were about selling ideas and selling the idea of play. So this is a little film we made promoting the book on fingerprints.
Rabbit. Let's make some great fingerprint art.
And, you know, the fingerprint is the most basic and universal form of printmaking, and we can all do it. And it's really quite babyish, but it's such good fun, and I hope we'll do some of it later. We can maybe make some of these and make some monsters. And what I wanted to talk about when we make images like this, and although my books are aimed at children, lots of adults buy my books. And I think there's a reason why they do buy the books. It's because they're trying to reconnect to the art that they did as kids. And a lot of you already have passed that stage where you probably draw, yet you're very close to the age where you remember drawing a lot. And you remember that space you went into when you made art. And it's a really amazing place to go to in your head. And it's absolutely free, and anyone can do it. And it's not about being brilliant at drawing. It's actually about making stuff with your hands. And there's this language that we use when we make things with our hands, and use that part of the brain that was there way before language ever got in the way. You know, dance used to be a form of language, and drawing is a form of language, and we can all do it, and we should all be doing it throughout our lives. But we get to age 12 and we decide, oh, I'm not good at art, so I have to stop that thing that gives me amazing pleasure every day. I'm not good at it, so I'm going to move on and do something else. And why do we do that? We should keep making art. And my little mission that I've been on for a few years now is to make everyone in workspaces that even don't, whether it's an accountant's office, is to have a play desk. And a play desk is a place where you can go and make art. And there's some of these, the books I do are interactive, so they involve people making things from the book. So there's a really simple task here of how to draw a bicycle, which is a really hard thing to draw actually. But when you have this little technique, you can then impress your friends. And these are 5-year-olds' drawings of bicycles, so we know if they can do it, you can do it. And one of the pages in the books was about how to make an impersonation of Mona Lisa, which is, as I've been collecting over the years actually, and people have done lots and lots of different versions of her. And it's incredible how you still recognise it's her, despite, you know, the fact that it's 2 dots and an eye. This is my favourite one. Beneath the slow. But sometimes when you're an illustrator, because you're always asked to do work for other people, it's one of the best things about it is you never know what you're doing from one week to the next. I never know what subject I'm going to be doing. I never know where my work's going. And that can be very positive because it's exciting. You never know where you go. But other times it can be quite limiting, because when you get good at something, people ask you to do it again and again. So, you know, if you are good at drawing hands, for example, people will just keep asking you to draw those hands until you get bored of it. And I get really bored very quickly, and so I have to keep moving my work on. And if you looked at my work 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it's very different to the work I do now, because I'm constantly evolving it. And hand lettering is something I've been doing for 20 years now, and it's something that just happened quite slowly, and it's now super mainstream and super fashionable. But if you'd asked me 20 years ago, would I be making a living from just doing some scribbly hand lettering? Or as my family say, what, you mean people pay you to do that? They pay you to do a bit of lettering? Because it's not calligraphy. But basically, I've been making hand lettering for over 20 years now, and it's just became a very zeitgeist thing, and people wanted it, and it's a lovely thing to do, drawing, lettering. I mean, absolutely, I love it. I love it because it's quite zen-like in a way. You know, you just get into the zone, and you have good days and bad days where sometimes you can't draw very well or paint very well. But lettering is something that's like it just gets you in the mood very quickly. And it's because you're not really having to think about an image, or you're not having to think about an idea. You're just thinking about the getting into a particular space to make it flow. So I'll just quickly flick through. My lettering has gone kind of everywhere, and it's from books to magazines to shop windows to corporate identities to on huge scale. But I'll just quickly talk about the things I think are quite important. And Gavin's, I mean, I think most of us saying the same thing, just in a different way. I wish I had your energy, Gavin, but I'm very lazy and tired and I can't. But I'm going to say the same thing, which is you never stop learning. And I think it's a bit like David asked me to write "Stay Curious" on the barn wall, and I think I am a curious person, and I think I never stop learning. And I'm always. You think your education is going to end quite soon? It's not. And if you want your work to keep evolving, if you want your life to be interesting, keep learning. And I'm always throwing myself into odd courses. I don't know whether it's making a souffle or whether it's learning how to. I mean, I've been doing a writing workshop recently because I kind of started writing books, and I thought I really don't know how to write. And so it's really good, even if you go down kind of strange little learning things and you think, oh, I didn't really get very much out of that. It does enhance your own practice. It changes it forever. I mean, they say that there's no such thing as new ideas. There's only a combination of old ideas. So if you mix in different things that you learn into your work, it regenerates your work. And if you're in the arts, it's such a fast-moving industry. It's fashion-led, it's fashion-based. I live in London. It's like a mad conveyor belt of ideas and stimulation. Then you have to keep learning, I think, if you want to be relevant. Otherwise, you get stuck in time and your work will look like it's come from a particular era. If you stick to the same colours, if you stick to the same images. So I think this is really, really important to think of your journey now as that you're never going to stop learning until you die. And one of my super mentors, this woman that has designed all the British road signs in the UK, is 80, and she's still trying to learn. And she wakes up in the middle of the night in a panic when she's doing a deadline. And I think, I hope I'm like that when I'm her age. And there's another thing about learning is you've also got to unlearn some stuff. So this is a drawing my kid did when he was very young, and I thought, I really recognise that drawing. I can't remember where it's from. It's because I had this image pinned up on my desk for years. And this is from Miro, and it's a poster about the Spanish Civil War. And he's learned that you can do things that are wrong in drawing, because there's no such thing as right and wrong in drawing. So he's thought, I really want to make this guy look really strong, so I'm going to just make one arm really big. Now, we know in drawing that's wrong, but it works really well. And kids do not forget, they know that. So we have to unlearn how to draw properly, and remember that drawing badly and drawing wrongly is sometimes the right way. And the other thing I learned very recently, when someone asked me, well, what was your creative process? I thought, I have no idea. And so I started filming my desk. And this was the biggest breakthrough I had in a sense of what I do, because I'm just going to flick through these, because I literally just started taking snapshots of my desk. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is what I really enjoy doing. If you have to ask me what I enjoy doing the most, it's when I'm here. And that's where I go for my ideas. And the idea doesn't kind of come in my head like a shooting bolt. It comes when I start playing, and it comes when I start working with materials. And it comes because I don't know what I'm doing. If I want to start making origami, then maybe that will lead to something. I don't know what, but that is my entry point into making ideas. And I think this is relevant to all of you. I think you can all do this. I think no matter if you, like I say, you want to be a mathematician, this would help you if you did this, because it's a way into using the other side of your brain that's much more open. So I'm going to encourage you later to do this kind of stuff, because you'll reconnect with that little 7-year-old that didn't question why they made that big arm big, and why you just felt like inking up a paper cup and printing it. I think it's really, really important. And this is led to a new book which is out in September, which is called Art Play, which I don't have time to talk about. The second thing I'm going to say, there's only 3 major things, so don't worry, I'm going to be super quick, is to work hard. And Gavin, we've all said the same thing, work hard. And we do all work. I think if you really want something, you work hard. It's kind of, we know we're going to do that. But this is not working hard. But this can sometimes make you feel like you're working hard. And it's really, really time consuming. And I'm just as guilty as everyone of spending far too much time on social media and looking around. But it can be really, you have to be so careful, because if I look too much, at Instagram, I can get really depressed because I think, why on earth do I bother? There's so much brilliant stuff out there. Why do I even bother getting out of bed? Because there's so many talented people, and they've just done another image today. How did they manage that? There's so many people who do so much work. I can't actually cope with it. So sometimes it's just quite good to switch off for a bit. And you need to find your own signature, your own personal signature. Everyone starts by copying a little bit, but in the end it's going to be the thing that makes us unique and makes your artwork unique is only you. Again, we're all saying the same thing, but it has to come from within, and you're not going to find it by looking too much. You're going to find it in here. See, they'd said this was good for you, and obviously, it's like you should see the cigarette adverts with the doctor saying, it's really good for you, this is really great for you. Everything in moderation. And follow your passion. The biggest cliche you'll ever hear, and everyone else, follow your passion, do something you love. Well, that's great if you know what you have that. If you have that now, great, follow it. If you don't, look for it and keep looking for it until you find it. Because it is the most important thing. And actually, you'd be surprised how many people don't follow their passion. Oh, I was really good at art, but I gave it up because I really wanted a job. I nearly took that route because I was scared of the insecurity of the arts. And I think you really have to follow stuff you love, because if I look back at all the projects I've done, the only ones I really like are either the ones I've done for love, for free, or the ones I've done for people that I love and respect. And I can't jump back there and not undo those work. I did a lot of work for money, I did a lot of work for the wrong reasons, but if I could change it, I would go back and try and do that, follow projects for love. And this is a love project, my last project, nearly finished. Again, it's a little kid's book, and it's a book about self-affirmity. It's about a character based on me and my brother. But then when I was looking through pictures, my few pictures that I have, I found a picture of my dad, and it's the story's about a little bird with skinny legs. And I realised my dad had really skinny legs, and I'd never ever seen my dad's legs ever. And he never ever showed us his legs because he was too embarrassed. And so he used to talk about his legs, saying there were these really thin, white, skinny legs, but I never saw them ever in my whole life. And now he's not even around to say, what were your legs like? I never saw them. So the story is based on a little bird, and he's called Bob. And this is where you've got to find inspiration. This is my mother-in-law's farm, and that was Bob the chicken, and my son named Bob the chicken, and I thought that's a great name for a bird. I'm sure I've got about a minute left, haven't I? I'm nearly finished. I've only got a few slides left. So this is Bob, and Bob was a little character that I'm going to write a few stories for, and he's, I probably should have been doing Bob 20 years ago, but didn't have the courage to do Bob because I wanted to do cool stuff. And really, Bob is just a little character who's going to do lots of different things. His next story is called Bob in his Blue Period. And I can keep spinning him out, and Bob in the Old Master. It's all based on Bob's relationship with art. So he's a kind of, I suppose he is a little bit of me, and I don't always draw that easily. I'm just going to show that sometimes I do 100 versions of Bob to get the right one, and I paste them all together in Photoshop. These are the last few slides of Bob, and I brought a few copies with me if anyone wants to look through. But Bob is a kind of love project, because he's done purely for love, and no one asked me to do him. I just kind of did it one day, and the publisher who publishes my other books said, we love it, we'll publish it. And I knew as soon as I'd made Bob do yoga, I could make him do anything. And dress him up as a lady. He can do anything. So Bob, is inspired by art. I'm not showing the whole book because he's... And my last thing to say, again, you said this, so important. And, I don't think I cared about being nice to people when I was younger because I was too cared about me. I only really care about yourself, don't you? Just slap that. You're so self-obsessed sometimes that you tend not to think about other people. And actually, you can go really far in life by thinking about other people. And just spending a few minutes, taking an interest even in other people, and being nice to people. And not being nice in a kind of twee, horrible, sickly, creepy way. Just being honest and nice. And I think I probably should have been... My New Year's resolution for years was be nice to people. And that still probably is be nicer to people. And my last slide is, if all else fails, don't do this. So I want you to keep positive, and I think, these stories that you're hearing now, as Gavin said, you'll go back and you'll start digesting these, and you'll realise, it's quite important, the stories you hear from other people. You just patch them together and make your own. So, thank you.